So in this section, we look at Azure Database Service. So Azure Database is fully managed platform as a service. So we have a lot of database options that we can use. So if you have a SQL database on premise, you can move that in the cloud as a Azure SQL database. Then we have Azure Cosmos DB. It's for the fast usage, real high-end usage. We can use the Azure Cosmos DB, where we have really high-end read-write inputs and outputs. Then we have the Azure Database Migration Service, where we can manage the database migration. In the data, we can directly migrate into the cloud, right? So it supports several type of data structures that we can easily migrate into the cloud environment, right? So next, we can look at the Azure SQL DB architecture. So here we can see we support multiple type of databases. So we have managed systems, and we can use data warehouse. So data warehouse is can be used for another more purposes, like if you want to go for artificial intelligence to analyze the data. If you want to go for data analytics, we can use the data warehouse. Also, we can use single database. If you are just using the database, we can use the Azure single database, right? So next, we look at some of the pricing for the databases, right? If you go for products, so you can see databases, right? So these are the databases that is provided, right? So you get the Azure SQL, Cosmos DB, right? Migrations, right? So Azure SQL is fully managed databases, right? So if you go for pricing, you can see the pricing for this, like this. So we have the pricing calculator. So here we can see the database price, right? So there are different pricing based on the database. So now we have the new features like Synapse Analytics also. So Azure SQL database, right? So we can view. So it's like this. So let's say UK single database, right? Backup. Then based on the computing and the service tier. So we have the pay as you go license, right? Like this. So here we have the number of cores like this, general purpose. If you want 1 year reserve, something like this, then you can get the license pay as you go, or here Azure hybrid benefits, then it's reduced to 722, something like this, right? So you can see the backups and all the retention policies you can set up like this. So this is the Azure SQL database pricing, right? So you can also look at pricing for other environments. So let's say Cosmos DB, right? So if you go for the Cosmos DB database, so Cosmos DB. So here you can see the Cosmos DB is a different kind of database where we can use for high volume of data transaction. So it's really good for mobile applications. So you can see return it for units for this much of hours, right? Then pay as you go, it's only $23, right? And upfront plus monthly cost like this, right? So something like this, $23 based on that. So let's look at how you can create this in the Azure environment, right? So here you can go to the database section, right? So you have this Azure SQL database and Cosmos DB as well. If you go to Azure SQL database, so here we can see the number of options that we are required, right? Again, we can create a new DB environment, right? Right, then we can give a database name and we can create a server name, right? If you need the elastic port and the compute, right? Then new server, so you can get the server name, server admin login, password, things like that. So once the server is created, we can use this environment to create a database compute. Then we can set up networking, additional settings and tags, and then we can create the entire thing, right? So based on that, the pricing matters. So based on the features that you are going to use, the region, and how much capacity of the scalability that you are going to have. Also, we look at the Cosmos DB. So in the databases, you can create the Cosmos DB. So as I mentioned, this is a fully scalable database. So I use that DB storage I used. created, so I use another one. So we can use something, this one, previous one. So we can create right, then the API, so it's based on the API. So this is a really popular API, the MongoDB API. Then we can create the version, right? So the things are okay. Then we can go to the next step, networking. So you can, if you want, you can set up endpoints. Otherwise, you can use the public data encryption, tags, then create. This will create Azure CosmoDB account, right? So this is really good for fast scale, highly scale application. Let's say a mobile application with 1 million users doing a lot of interactions, right? So nowadays, let's say it's an e-commerce mobile app that do a lot of transactions and product searching, right? So these transactions could be millions of transactions per second. So if you try to commit all this into a database, it's a huge, the scalable problem that need to go into the server side. But in here we can move all this workload into the CosmoDB, and only the account creation we can move to the database. So that will be save a lot of resources in our end, right? And you can see it have really fast read write speed and low latency, and also it's a geo replicate. So you have a copy in a different regions. So the advantage of that is like you get a fast moving application compared to the database. Again, the database also need to process against the primary keys and all the other conditions, but here is also based on API that we can easily invoke in our application, right? So once the submission completed, you can see it's created. You can see compared to the previous service, it takes some time to create this service. So it will create Azure CosmoDB environment in our application, right? So I will show some architecture diagram. So we can use this in a different forms, right? Where we can use in a different kind of application. So it's really optimized with the mobile applications. If you are having a mobile applications, this is a really good option, right? So in this you can see a user web app A in the region A, region B. So we have a CosmoDB like this, multi-region, right? So we have a mission critical application that requires SLA, service level trust application. So it includes these companies use something like this because you get high latency in real-time operations, right? So it's another example. It's use Power BI to do analytics, right? Then you have a machine learning pipeline, everything connected via the Azure CosmoDB. So we have a system injection, vehicle information comes in, real-time IoT telemetry. So it's used by the X1 Mobile. So here we can see Azure CosmoDB use this as the central database structure, and it's moved much more faster, and data is going in a real time. So this is a real-time retail service. So here also you can see CosmoDB used into the Azure Kubernetes service. Okay. So here you can see it's deploying these services. So again, here you can see there's another place that we can look at. If you want to go for resource groups, you can go for this resource group, and you can see the number of resource groups you have created. These are logical groups that you have created. Inside the resource group, you can see different types of resources that is using. And also there's another place to look at, which is all resources. These are the currently running services, right? These are currently running services. You can sort by the resource group, right, and by the locations as well, right? So this is another area to look at, which is the resource, all resources, because let's say by mistakenly you have created a service that you don't want, but once you create a service based on the consumption, it's getting charged. So you need to look at this service, and based on that you need to look at it, and whether to use it or not, you need to look at it, right? Also we look at some of the IoT services that is available. So we have this IoT hub, then we have digital twin, stream analytics. So in the IoT hub is a centralized location that we can connect several type of IoT environments, right? So there are standard set of things are supported in the IoT hub, right? So we can connect different devices in the IoT hub. So it's something like this in the IoT hub I will show. So you can see some pricing in the IoT hub. So based on the usage, right, you can see the IoT hub pricing based on the edition and the tiers, right. So you can there are Azure compliance devices. So based on these devices you can connect. So let's say you have a warehouse with these sensors that you need to connect. So you can use Azure IoT hub to connect these sensors. So Azure IoT hub is this centralized location that we can connect, right. So you can go to this website which is called catalog.azuresolutions.com. So that gives you these certified IoT devices, right. So there are a number of devices. Technically you cannot connect almost all the devices. There are some certified devices are needed in order to connect. So right now there are more than about 1,000 devices. So you can, I will show the website. It's called catalog.azureiotsolutions.com, where we have these 1,000 plus devices. We have this logo which is Azure certified like this, where we can connect these sensors, right. So we can connect this type of sensors. You can see this is one type of a sensor, right. So this sensor you can connect directly like this S1 sensor. You can connect this. You can see where it's used for the health process manufacturing. IoT plug and play. It's used Bluetooth and sensors for humidity and temperature. So you can use this and connect to IoT hub, and then you can read from that, right. Then later you can use things like analytics to analyze, and also you can use AI to predict what is the next kind of data set would be.